First contact and provocation. The Nebulian Imperium had conquered 14 star systems before encountering Earth. Their massive biomechanical vessels, with hulls that resembled polished obsidian etched with glowing purple veins, formed a terrifying silhouette against the darkness of space. When they arrived at the edge of the Sol system, they expected the same swift capitulation they'd received from every other sentient species they'd encountered. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the ESS Intrepid, Earth's most advanced warship, though it was little more than a fragile toy compared to the Nebulian dreadnoughts. Her dark eyes narrowed as the main viewscreen displayed the approaching alien fleet. "They're broadcasting, Captain," Lieutenant Park announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Audio and visual." "On screen," Rodriguez ordered, straightening her uniform jacket. The image of a Nebulian appeared. Its skin was a mottled blue-gray, with 6 golden eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern. Tendrils that resembled fiber optic cables extended from its cranium, pulsing with light as it spoke. "Humans of Earth." The alien's voice was synthesized, eerily calm. "I am Supreme Commander Vorax of the Nebulian Imperium. Your species has been observed and found wanting. Your technological development is primitive, your societal structure inefficient, and your biological design suboptimal. We offer you the opportunity to surrender and be integrated into our Imperium as a protectorate species. Resistance will result in your extinction." Rodriguez didn't flinch. Humanity had only recently established colonies on Mars and Europa, but they had learned quickly from the wreckage of an alien scout ship that had crashed in the Atacama Desert 15 years ago. That discovery had accelerated human technological development, but they were still centuries behind the Nebulians. "This is Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Earth Space Service. We respectfully decline your offer and request peaceful diplomatic relations instead." The Nebulians' tendrils pulsed faster, a sign of amusement. "Diplomacy is inefficient. You have 24 Earth hours to reconsider before we begin cleansing procedures." The transmission ended. General William Hayes, head of the United Earth Defense Force, called an emergency meeting with the top military strategists and scientists from every nation. "The Nebulians have conquered 14 systems," Dr. Elias Chen explained, displaying holographic images of the alien technology they'd reverse-engineered. "They've never encountered defeat. Their strategy is always the same: overwhelming force followed by biological and technological assimilation of useful resources. Then we need to be unpredictable," Rodriguez suggested. "We can't match their firepower, but humans have always excelled at asymmetric warfare." Hayes nodded. "Captain Rodriguez is right. We need to fight in ways they can't anticipate." Earth had been preparing for this possibility since the discovery of the crashed alien ship. Below the surface of Mars, a network of automated factories had been quietly producing specialized weapon systems designed by Dr. Chen's team. Not warships that could match the Nebulians in direct combat, but something uniquely human in concept. When the 24-hour deadline expired, the Nebulian fleet advanced toward Earth. They deployed a formation of smaller attack craft to target military installations as a demonstration of force. But Earth was ready. Instead of attempting to intercept with their own ships, they activated Protocol Thanatos. Thousands of miniature stealth drones, no larger than hummingbirds, had been positioned throughout the solar system. Each carried a payload of experimental nanites designed to infiltrate the Nebulian biomechanical systems. The first wave of Nebulian ships suddenly lost control, their navigation systems corrupted by the nanite infiltration. They collided with each other, creating a debris field that confused the Nebulian sensors. "Impossible," Supreme Commander Vorax hissed, his tendrils writhing in agitation. "Their technology is too primitive for such targeted attacks." The Nebulians had never encountered a species that would sacrifice their own communication satellites as decoys, each one hiding one of Dr. Chen's infiltration drones. They had never fought an enemy that would use their own dead as bait, with fallen human pilots carrying dormant nanite clusters that activated upon detection of Nebulian biosignatures. Captain Rodriguez led a small fleet of human vessels in hit-and-run attacks, never engaging directly, but drawing Nebulian ships into asteroid fields rigged with gravitational mines. The mines didn't destroy the alien vessels, but disrupted their propulsion systems, leaving them vulnerable to the swarms of autonomous hunter-killer drones that followed. 3 days into what should have been a simple conquest, the Nebulians had lost 27 ships and had yet to successfully deploy ground forces on any human settlement. Ambassador Zelnar, the Nebulian diplomat who had advised against engaging humans without further study, watched the battle unfold from the command ship. Supreme Commander, these humans fight differently than any species we've encountered, Zelnar observed. The Krellians surrendered after a single demonstration of our power. The Valorians negotiated terms, but these humans, they're adapting to our tactics faster than we can implement them. Vorax's tendrils darkened with rage. They are prey species. Prey does not defeat predators. Perhaps, Zelnar suggested cautiously, they are predators too. Earth's defenders were indeed adapting. When the Nebulians deployed energy shields that neutralized the nanite attacks, human scientists discovered harmonics that caused resonance failures. When the aliens attempted to jam communications, Earth forces switched to quantum-entangled transmitters developed from the crashed ship's technology. Every Nebulian advantage was met with human ingenuity. A week into the conflict, the humans captured a Nebulian scout ship intact. Inside, they found something unexpected. The aliens were physically fragile. Their bodies, evolved in the low gravity of their homeworld, couldn't function well under sustained Earth-normal conditions without their exo-armor. Captain Rodriguez personally interrogated the captured Nebulian officer, whose name translated as Tevrik. "You cannot win." Tevrik clicked through its translator. "The Imperium spans 14 systems. This resistance merely postpones your inevitable assimilation." Rodriguez leaned forward. "You fundamentally misunderstand what humans are. We didn't develop as a cooperative species like yours. We evolved as apex predators. Before we built cities, we hunted prey to exhaustion. Before we had advanced weapons, we used our minds to outsmart stronger animals." She smiled, showing teeth. "Our entire evolutionary history is written in blood and victory. War isn't our last resort, it's our expertise." The Nebulians' tendrils paled, a sign of fear in their species. "You enjoy combat." "Some of us do," Rodriguez admitted, "but all of us excel at it when threatened. You should have studied us more carefully before you provoked us." The Nebulian fleet withdrew from the Sol system 2 weeks later, not in defeat, they claimed, but to reassess their strategy. They never returned to Earth. Instead, rumors spread throughout nearby star systems, tales of the bizarre Bictal species who treated warfare like an art form, who laughed during battle, who functioned despite physical injuries that would incapacitate any rational being. When the Nebulians moved to annex their 15th system, they found human explorers had arrived first, then their 16th target, and their 17th. Humans hadn't waited for the Nebulians to return. They had reverse-engineered the captured Nebulian technology and launched their own expansion, moving faster than any species in known galactic history. 3 years after first contact, the Nebulian Imperium formally recognized Earth's sovereignty and proposed a non-aggression pact. The message was clear. Humans were not to be underestimated again. The galaxy learns to fear. Admiral Ksolner of the Nebulian Imperium stood before the High Council, his tendrils twitching with barely contained rage. The holographic display showed the remains of their once mighty Third Fleet, now scattered across the Procyon system. "The humans have expanded into 7 systems in just 4 years, he reported, his synthesized voice struggling to maintain its usual monotone. "They've developed weapons specifically designed to target our weaknesses. They're not just defending. They're hunting us." High Counselor Vexmar's 6 golden eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of extreme distress. "How is this possible? They were primitive when we first encountered them." "They learn," Admiral Ksolner said simply. They adapt faster than any species we studied, and they collaborate in ways we cannot predict. The truth was more disturbing than the Nebulians wanted to admit. Humans had not only reverse-engineered their technology, but improved upon it. Dr. Elias Chen, now heading Earth's Advanced Weapons Division, had created a new generation of autonomous combat systems that could predict Nebulian tactics based on their rigid, hierarchical approach to warfare. But it wasn't just technology that made humans dangerous. It was their psychology. Captain Maya Rodriguez, now Fleet Commander Rodriguez, had implemented what she called the Predator Doctrine. Human ships never attacked in predictable patterns. They used feints, ambushes, and psychological warfare. They broadcasted the sounds of human laughter across Nebulian communication channels during battles, a sound that the aliens found deeply disturbing. They painted their vessels with imagery from Earth's most fearsome predators and named them after mythological monsters. The Fourth Fleet is ready to deploy, Admiral Zollner continued. We've incorporated randomization algorithms into our battle computers to counter human unpredictability. But the High Council was no longer convinced of victory. The Nebulian Imperium had never retreated before, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. In the Epsilon Eridani system, humans had established their furthest colony. It was here that Admiral Zollner decided to make his stand, leading the Fourth Fleet personally. The largest Nebulian armada ever assembled entered the system with overwhelming force. Fleet Commander Rodriguez waited for them with only 30 vessels, a seemingly suicidal defense against over 200 Nebulian warships. Their broadcasting, Lieutenant Park, now Rodriguez's executive officer, announced. Admiral Zollner's image appeared on the view screen. Surrender this system, humans. You cannot prevail against our numbers. This display of force is intended to give you an honorable auction before we destroy you completely. Rodriguez smiled. Admiral, you still don't understand what you're fighting. We're not here to surrender. We're here to accept yours. Before Zollner could respond, hundreds of quantum signatures appeared throughout the system. Dr. Chen's latest creation, jump-capable autonomous drones carrying gravimetric warheads, materialized within the Nebulian formation. They didn't target the ships directly, but instead detonated in precise patterns, creating overlapping gravity wells that pulled the Nebulian vessels into each other. The Nebulians had never encountered weapons that manipulated space-time itself. Their ships, designed to maintain formation, couldn't adapt to the chaotic gravitational environment. As they struggled to stabilize, Rodriguez launched the second phase of the attack. Human ships, much smaller and more maneuverable than their Nebulian counterparts, darted between the disorganized alien vessels. They didn't fire conventional weapons, but instead deployed specialized boarding drones that attached to the hulls and cut their way inside. The drones carried Earth's most effective weapon against the Nebulians: atmosphere converters that slowly increased the gravity and oxygen levels inside the alien ships to Earth normal conditions. The Nebulians, evolved for their low-gravity, low-oxygen homeworld, found their bodies literally breaking under their own weight as their ships became uninhabitable to them. "What is this?" Zollner gasped as alarms blared throughout his flagship. "How are they inside our environmental systems?" His science officer collapsed, the increased gravity crushing his fragile exoskeleton. "They've weaponized their natural environment against us." Rodriguez's voice came through their communication system. "We study your physiology, Admiral. You evolved as filter feeders in a low-gravity ocean. We evolved as pursuit predators on a high-gravity terrestrial world. You never stood a chance in a prolonged conflict." Within 6 hours, the Fourth Fleet had surrendered. Admiral Zollner, barely able to move in the Earth-normal conditions, was brought before Rodriguez for formal surrender. "Why?" he asked, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in his voice. "Why not simply destroy us? Why expand so aggressively into systems we claimed?" Rodriguez considered the alien carefully. "Because you needed to understand what humanity is before we could coexist peacefully. You see conquest as a biological imperative. We see it as a choice, one we're very good at when provoked, but not one we prefer. The surrender of the Fourth Fleet marked the end of the Nebulian-human conflict. The Imperium, for the first time in its 1,000-year history, signed a peace treaty that acknowledged another species as equals. As humans continued to expand throughout the galaxy, they encountered other spacefaring civilizations. Some, like the Arcosians, welcomed trade and cultural exchange. Others, like the militant Thoraxians, threatened conflict. But all of them had heard the stories of how humans had defeated the previously undefeated Nebulian Imperium. Dr. Chen, speaking before the United Earth Council 5 years after first contact, summarized humanity's new position in the galactic community. We didn't set out to become feared, but we've discovered that in a galaxy of diverse species, being recognized as apex predators has its advantages. Other civilizations approach us with caution and respect. Fleet Commander Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, had a different perspective. Our strength isn't just our ability to fight, she told the graduating class at the Earth Space Service Academy. It's our ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to unite against external threats. The Nebulians thought their biological and technological uniformity was superior. They couldn't understand that our diversity, of thought, of culture, of approach, is what makes humans the most dangerous species in known space. 10 years after humanity's first contact with the Nebulians, Earth had established colonies in 23 star systems and formal diplomatic relations with 15 alien civilizations. The Nebulian Imperium, once the dominant power in this sector of the galaxy, had reformed into a more cooperative government structure, partly influenced by human diplomatic efforts. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans might look like fragile, soft-skinned creatures, but they were the descendants of persistence hunters who had clawed their way to the top of a food chain on a death world. They were problem solvers, adapters, and, when necessary, the most terrifying predators the stars had ever seen. As an old human saying went, and one that Admiral Rodriguez had made the unofficial motto of the Earth Space Service, "We're not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with us."